Perfect. You have more?
Oh my goodness! Squidward!
Hello, what's gear to you, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And this is the magical land of post-commentary because I was an idiot who forgot to turn on my microphone when I was recording the regular video. Yay, that's fun. But anyway, in today's video, we'll be taking care of the last couple side quests around Lurline Village. So it's gonna be a pretty fun time around because if you notice by the thumbnail of the video, there's one that's here that, well, we're falling really far. Okay, sorry, I got stuck right there. It's one of my favorite things in the game, seeing Link just like ragdolling down the cliff and things like that. It's honestly one of the more interesting sights in this game. Like, I remember, okay, we haven't been to this region yet, but there's one region where my favorite thing in that game, in that area, is to like set off bomb runes and see how far Link can fall down cliffs and things like that. It's pretty amusing. But, anywho, over in this general direction, this is off to the side of the cliff with that one Moo shrine. It's been a long time since I've recorded the commentary for that video, but moo woo is still one of my favorite sounds ever. It still sounds like a cat trying to say ooh woo. Anyway, so around this general vicinity, there's going to be this dude we could talk to. Ah! Sorry about that, I was in the zone. Did you need something? What are you doing? I was just examining the stone monument. This place has a very spiritual aura to it. Do you feel it? I recently realized that there is writing engraved on the stone monument. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly is written here. Can I help? Ah, so you're the curious type too. This stone monument was once much larger, but it broke apart during an earthquake a while back. If you really want to help me find the missing fragments, will you? They'll be scattered all around. I think the fragments had the same kind of a script carved into them. If you find a fragment, please draw a picture of it and bring it to me. I'll be here finishing my examination of this stone monument. Oh, right. And the words on the stone monument glow with an eerie light at night. That should make them easier to find. One of them should be right around here. Please find that first. A fragmented monument. So the first stone monument is going to be located literally around the corner after we finish doing wheelies off a shield. That must be really terrible on your ankles. So it's literally going to be around this corner over here. And over here, we're going to take a picture of our first stone monument because we have no art skills whatsoever. So we can't draw the thing that they asked for. But we'll do something a little bit better. We're going to take a picture of it instead. Now, I don't know if the trick for having that saved to your Hylian Compendium will work here, and using the words are difficult, and using the sensing stasis thingy on your camera rune to find the next one. I don't know if that works for this one, but if it does, cool. If not, there'll be a caption on screen correcting me if I'm wrong. And you may have noticed that we have Wolflink with us right now, so a bit of a fun story about that. So, around the time that I was recording this video, I was trying to get back into Twilight Princess because I said earlier that with Wolflink, I would play through Twilight Princess HD on my own time to try and get more hearts for him. A fun thing about that, I had to sell my game, I had to sell my copy of the game because I was broke, and the people ripped me off. So, they never paid me, and then they started filing complaints against me on eBay saying that they never got the game, even though I had proof that the tracking thing showed that they got the stupid thing. So I'm really frustrated about that. But, luckily, the game's available digitally, and I kind of don't really care that much about having the physical copy of Twilight Princess HD, so I can get it eventually! Until March when the thing shuts down, because Nintendo hates having money. But now that we have all the fragments, let's go back over here and show the pictures to Mr. Dudeface. That's your official canon name, it's Mr. Dudeface. Did you find any fragments of the stone monument? I sure did. Oh, amazing, show me the next one. Perfect, you have more? That's amazing!
Ah.
Excellent. Thanks to you, I've got a good shot of deciphering the entire monument. Give me a sec to see if I can put this all together. Whoa! Thanks to you, I've deciphered the entire passage. When the two find their place and kneel in reverence, the shrine will reveal itself. I haven't the foggiest what that's supposed to mean. Is that it? Whoa! I don't know what was closer to bowling me over, the surprise or the way the ground was shaking. So the two who need to find their place were you and me. Makes sense. Good job figuring that one out. I'm sure I never would've. Huh? You're fixing to go explore that shrine? Oh, sorry. I won't keep you any longer. Off you go. I really like this shrine quest. I really do. I just kind of wish they went a little further with it. So, this is undeniably a Twilight Princess reference, and I do like that. I have said before that I do consider Twilight Princess my personal least favorite of the three Zelda games, but that does not by any means mean that I don't like the game. It just means that I think the other games have slightly stronger things going for them. But I do love Twilight Princess. I have played through the whole game to completion and things like that. I think I went for 100%, aside from a couple bugs here and there. But I do love Twilight Princess. I just wish they went just a little bit further with the reference here, because it is really cool what they did, and it does really solidify the fact that this game does take place after Twilight Princess in the main timeline for the games. I do think they could have gone further with it. Now, there are a few other subtle references here and there to Twilight Princess. I believe some of the location names are based off some of the characters throughout the games and things like that. So that's kind of interesting and things. But yeah, like we do see the shattered mirror of Twilight or whatever it's supposed to be called. So it is a cool reference. But again, they could have gone just a little bit further with it. I do like the idea, though, that something that was so big and important to the world of Twilight Princess is like nothing but a ruin here. We don't know exactly how further into the future this world takes place in. All we know is that the Great Calamity and things like that, like all the Guardians and the shrines and stuff, were discovered like 10,000 years before the events of the Great Calamity. So we know that the kingdom itself must be at least 10,000 years old, so we at least know how much time has passed between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. We don't know that much about the other games, though. So the games are pretty vague and cryptic about how much time exactly has passed between games. Like, we do know that Majora's Mask takes place after Ocarina of Time, but we don't know exactly how much time. We don't know if it's been immediately afterwards, or if a year has gone by, or anything like that. So it's really interesting to theorize about stuff like that. I guess we could talk about that just a little bit more, though. So, those of you who don't know, the Zelda timeline is a little complicated. So, we have the main timeline where everything is like following down one pathway. It starts in Skyward Sword, and then makes its way down through Minish Cap, and then Ocarina of Time, and things like that. So, I think Fourth Sword takes place between, yeah, it goes Skyward Sword, Minish Cap, Fourth Sword, and Skyward Sword. Or Ocarina of Time, excuse me. Beyond Ocarina of Time, it splits off into 3 different paths. So beyond that, there are 2 timelines for when Link triumphs over Ganondorf, because the way the time travel in that game works. So there's one timeline that's from Link's perspective when he goes back in time at the end of the game. But then there's the other timeline that's from Hyrule's perspective after Link gets sent back. So the perspective of Link follows Majora's Mask, then Twilight Princess, Four Sword Adventures, and then eventually Breath of the Wild. So this game takes place on the child timeline. And then with the other timeline, that's considered the adult timeline, that leads off into the Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. And there's a third timeline that I think is the most interesting one, because this is the one where Link canonically dies in Ocarina of Time, but it's the one that has the most games in it. So it could be possible this is the most canon timeline, because most stuff happens in this one. Because in this one, this leads down to the path to Link Between the Past, Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, Link's Awakening, the Oracle games, and then the original 2 Zelda games on the NES. So it's really interesting to think about that, and you can tell how much of a Zelda nerd I am that I know this off the top of my head, so that's pretty interesting. And obviously, Tears of the Kingdom is going to take place after Breath of the Wild. We don't know exactly when, we don't know how many years have gone by, or if it's going to take place immediately afterwards. I really hope it takes place a couple years later. I'm really hoping they don't have it take place immediately afterwards, because I want to see how Hyrule has progressed over a set period of time. Because I want to see Terry Town evolve. I want to see how Riju has grown over being the chief and things like that. I want to see how the characters have progressed over the years. I'm really hoping it's not immediately afterwards. If it is, fine, whatever. I'll be a little bit bummed about it. But I am hoping that they do have some time take place between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Going away from the pathway from the Moo Shrine, over on this cliff over here, there's going to be another interesting shrine quest. So, this one up here is pretty fun. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get up there, so I'm going to finish my train of thought from before. So, continuing the Zelda timeline talk, I guess there's a couple other things I could have mentioned as well. So, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, part of it could be considered canon up to a certain point. That's as far as I go into story spoilers for that game, but I do believe at least half the game is supposed to be canon, but the other half is meant to be like some kind of alternate take or something like that. So it might branch off then, but might also just be non-canonical. Link's crossbow training I don't think is canon, but it might be, because who knows, it's just like Link wandering around Hyrule training the crossbow and things like that, so it might be canon. Hyrule Warriors I think is the most interesting one, because this one is kind of like the big Avengers event for Zelda, where we have characters from all across the timeline coming into one game. It's not considered canon, but the reason why I specifically worded it as the Avengers is because that's what Eiji Aonuma described it as. It's like an Avengers level event of a bunch of Zelda characters coming together. I hope they do something like that again in the future, because it was really cool in Hyrule Warriors. It'd be really cool to see that again in a canon game at some point. Or a Ganon game at some point. Obvious jokes are funny. The ancient orbs guarded by the giants on Mount Terran lead to the shrine. The Three Giant Brothers. And Mount Terran is a reference to Link's Awakening, because there's a character in the game named Terran. So, there are going to be 3 giant field monsters within this general vicinity, and we gotta go murder them all in cold blood. Technically, we don't have to do a murder on them, but it might be an interesting new hobby to try out. I don't recommend it, because then you'd be put in jail forever, but in the context of this game, like, just look at this jerk. Who does he think he is, sleeping around, minding his own business? How dare you? How dare you, good sir? So the same trick that I discussed before will apply here as well, where you can sneak up on the hand, and if it works, you should be able to just breeze through the area. You don't have to fight the Hinox or anything like that. You can, like, stay on the thing, and hopefully you'll achieve your destiny, unless you're a big idiot like I am, and you fall off the bad guy anyway. But yeah, we're going to be facing 3 Hinox brothers in this area. So there's the Middlekin, and there's 2 other ones. I don't know if there's that much of a difference between them, outside of them having different amounts of health. The middle one, obviously, is the middle ground between the 2 of them. The younger kin is going to have the least amount of health, and the older kin is going to have the highest amount of health. I don't know if there's any other differences between them, like if they do more damage or anything like that. I don't think they do. They might be missing something super obvious, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. Now, my advice before applies here as well. you want to use your bow and arrow to fire an arrow at the guy's stupid eyeball, because it's a Zelda game, so eyeballs are going to be our mortal nemesis. Eventually, he's going to do a thing where he's going to have the hand over the eye, so that'll make it a bit more difficult to do a clean shot on him. If you can find a high ground to do a jump to fire an arrow in the air, that can definitely help you with that as well. If you also have a Bristle's Fury, this is greatly helpful to fighting the field monsters, because you'll take out like a huge chunk of the HP as well. So that's definitely worth mentioning. And I haven't been able to do this before, but I did read one walkthrough that was suggesting that if there's a thunderstorm going on in the area, you can also drop metal weapons near them. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, though, because I don't know if thunderstorms can spawn here. Because the guy already has metal weapons on him, so I think they'd be struck by lightning anyway, but who am I to judge? Eventually, he'll also pick up a tree branch and things like that, and just... Can you imagine having the strength to just casually pick up a tree branch? Like, that's just truly impressive. You've been working out, so, you know, I made fun of you earlier, but I applaud your work ethic, if it is indeed your job to work out and things like that. Who knows, it might be. Some people work out for a living, and I have the highest respect for them. With the Hinox almost deathly dead at some point, maybe sort of kind of, if the stupid bees would go away. A bee! Oh no, a bee! It's so scary! I really want to know the origin of that, though. I really want to know where that originally came from with Nintendo Capri Sun's videos, because, like, I've just been wondering that for the longest time. Like, what was the first video Nintendo Capri Sun said a bee in? Because most catchphrases with my favorite Let's Players, I can remember the origin for them. But that's one that I've never been able to figure out. So if anybody in the comments knows what the first video he said that in was, please let me know. I've been wondering that for like 10 years now. But now that we've taken care of the Hinox, we can go up top to the toppy tip of the top of the mountain tip to take care of the orb. Tip. Top. Yay. So something definitely worth mentioning is that there are 3 pillars in this area. Just note that the orbs are going to only activate if they're connected to a specific orb, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, the other 2 Hinox fights are going to play pretty much more or less like the first one. It's not really going to be that much of a difference, so I don't see the point in commentating over them. So we're going to have the tried and true formula of speeding up the gameplay and playing music over it. Yay! Cue the music! We got the orb. It's the orb of confusion. Take this. Patrick, you know things turned off, right? Patrick. Patrick. In case you can't tell, I watch SpongeBob a lot. So yeah, it's a bit of a fun thing because for SpongeBob, the great thing about them is that their episodes are like just the right length for me to watch an episode on my lunch break at work. It's awesome. To you, Sesfun Shrine, I am Tawa Jinn. By entering this place, you've already proven your worth. Tawa Jinn's blessing, Tawa Jinn Shrine. Yay, half your name is the best character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2! Except for Pyra Mythra because waifu bias, but still, Jinn is like one of the coolest characters in the Xenoblade series ever, and you're super awesome and things like that. It's like, I can never make up my mind who my favorite Xenoblade character is. Because like most days, it's Pyra. Like, it's always going to be Pyra. She's my #1 favorite. So I guess this argument should really be about who my #2 favorite character is. But my #2 favorite character usually bounces around between either Jinn, or Alvis, or Shulk, or Ricky, or Sena, or something like that. Like, I can never make up my mind who my favorite is. I think I can at least say my favorite villain is Metalface, but I don't want to go too much further into that because if I go into too much more detail about favorite villains and things like that, that's going to spoil a bunch of things in the Xenoblade games. You have done well to do the... Oh, never mind, the text faded away. In the name of the goddess Hylia, I bestow upon you the spirit orb. You might want to wash it first, because it's been in the shrine for God knows how long. It might be a little bit moldy. Also, I burped on it. You have 16 spirit orbs. Take them to a damn goddess statue already. And now moving on to a personal hell of mine. Yay, 2 swear words within a minute. That's a new record. So moving on to Queta Shrine. This is one that we've kind of opened up before when we were hunting for Koroks and things like that. And I remember this island very specifically now because I didn't realize that stream was going on for 5 hours at that point, and yeah, that took a while. So that was a bit of a fun time. But anyway, now we're moving on to a major test of strength. And fun fact, this was the first major test of strength that I came across in my first playthrough, and it was a nightmare because I had very terrible weapons because I was still in the early game. I haven't even found a Divine Beast yet. Same strategy before I play here as well, but we're going to commentate over this one because I feel like rambling on about nothing. Yeah, rambling on about nothing. This is the video of a random things, and I like a thug. That did not rhyme, but I'm terrible at rhyming poetry. Alright, so, yeah, we're going to be facing another one of these jerk faces again. And it's also worth mentioning that there's going to be a side quest that's going to involve you needing to take a lot of pictures of guardians and things like that. So if you need to look for one for a major test of strength, this is probably going to be the easiest one to remember where you'd find one for this specific kind of guardian scout. So definitely something that's worth mentioning. I do believe they will respawn after every blood moon, so that's something that's also worth mentioning as well. So that's going to be something that's going to be pretty fun all around. We're gonna eat some steak, yeah! Courtesy of Outback Stab House. We're watching the Disco Day podcast a lot lately because I'm bored out of my mind and things like that. So, that's a fun little tidbit of personal life and things like that. I usually like listening to Disc Only because it's like really great background noise to listen to when I'm working on Let's Play notes and things like that. So that's something that's pretty fun. But now we're gonna get to do our spinny thingy. Yay! Link gets to be a pretty little ballerina! And now they're doing the circular ring of death. Oh no, this game is on Xbox now. It's got a circle of death! Has the Xbox One or Series X or anything like that had something like that? I know that was like a big thing with the Xbox 360 in the early days. What's the error message like for the like, Xbox One or Series X or something like that. I'm genuinely curious about that. I think the big reason why that was a problem with 360 was that they were kind of rushing out the hardware to try and get like a year head start on the Wii and PlayStation 3 and things like that. But there's also the fact that the console itself kind of wasn't designed that well, because the way that they built it, like the structure of the outer shell and things like that, made a lot of the components inside kind of crammed together and caused a lot of overheating problems and things like that. So that probably wasn't the most well thought out strategy in the world, and I think it cost like Microsoft like billions of dollars to repair or something like that. But it's Microsoft, so they can afford it. Yeah, we did it! We did it. We did it. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey now, here is my song for you. Yeah, that's fine. I wish that I was yours, but I'm too shy, I suppose. Yeah! This treasure chest is shiny! Climbing gear! That is super awesome, because it's going to help us with climbing. Your triumph over the test of strength subverts a prophecy of ruin from the things of Hyrule. Here is a spirit orb, it's shiny, so take it and go away. In the name of the goddess Hylia, I will bestow upon you the spirit orb. Somebody have probably already told you this, but these have been in here for a very long time, so you probably want to wash them. This one is not dishwasher safe though, so you probably need to use like a towel or something. May the goddess smile upon you, or something. I really don't care what you do with your life. Man, these monks are getting very sarcastic. I don't know how I feel about that. We go through all this effort to free them from being trapped sitting in an uncomfortable spot for a bazillion years or whatever. This is super pretty, holy crap. Breath of the Wild. It's impossible to take a bad screenshot of you. But I want to take care of all that. We're in this video off here. So thank you guys so much for watching this video for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The options where to go next. You go to the next video in the playlist where we're going to be backtracking a little bit into the lake region and things like that to take care of a couple more side quests over there. You go into another route where we'll be returned to Hateno Village to finish off everything over there instead. You can look for the Koroks in the Hateno region as well, which, yay, this option is going to become available immediately when the video is uploaded. Woo! Or you can ignore all of that and go start the Champion's Ballad. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and where would you like to go to next?